alpha, a beta, and a female. Indecent proposal. That being said, there are a lot of people who get a lot of indecent proposals, and that's because it's not for $1 million. It's far less, maybe a value meal. Anyway, let's start the show. Tonight, we're going to bring in somebody who you haven't seen on Star Wars. Why? Because she's not a Star Wars fan. She's a Star Trek fan, and she's here to tell you about it. Let's see the
What?
superior. See how you're doing.
You know what? I'm doing well, and I don't know if I'm a Star Wars fan over Star Trek. I don't know. I feel like they are maybe about even, maybe
Okay.
a little more Star Wars for me. But tonight is about Indecent Proposal.
Okay. That's a nice save because you see how she deflected that, so she didn't have to answer further questions. That is okay. I have a question for everybody on the panel tonight, but let's introduce this next person coming in here. He has a yes on, but his name is Guap. What's going on? Sir, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic today, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this movie is clearly about the ducats, the loot, the cash, the dope, the guap, the green.
And
But
wow.
leading to that, happy Earth Day, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Earth Day. It's a wonderful, wonderful day. Y'all all know that I am Groot. Make sure you plant something for your great grandchildren.
And in Virginia now, you can do that even more so because they've legalized it. But anyway, that's another conversation. And if you watched last episode on Tuesday, you saw how excited he was over indoor. So you can only imagine how excited he is on Earth Day when it's plants galore and everything like that. You should check out his channel if he allows you to do so. He's very selective. He's on the upper echelon of things. And here tonight we have the executive consultant. Last episode he was the emperor. Let's see what evil he has up his sleeves tonight. So how are you doing?
I don't see how I have any evil. There's nothing about me that screams evil. I'm probably the nicest person on this panel. Speaking of which, who cares about Earth Day? I didn't even know that it was Earth Day until Vic said something like Happy Earth Day.
Evil,
like,
as we said.
I'm just saying, like, nobody pays attention to Earth Day. I mean, is it every April 22nd? Is it ironic that it's 2 days after 420? I don't know. Let's start the show.
One of the reasons why 420 was created.
Oh, really? That was the reason. That was the reason.
Why? Because unfortunately, a lot of people only focus on that green, even though there are trees on this planet that are 5,000 years old.
For now. I mean, sooner or later, it's going to be a mini bowl.
That was cold. Come on, that was cold. That was good.
All I'm saying is it's going to be a mini mall built there in the next couple of years. That's all I'm saying.
Coming in early, Christopher Harris says hello.
Public is not allowed there. How is that going to happen?
Don't get started.
For this movie, this is actually the executives pick tonight. This is a Thursday night. Thursdays we do our own picks, and this week is Chris's. I'm going to read the synopsis, then I'm going to jump to Chris. He can tell us why he picked this movie and what he liked about it. Here we go. A down-on-the-luck couple catch the attention of a billionaire gambler with a taste for the unattainable and are offered a life-changing amount of money for one night with a man's wife. That essentially is the synopsis for Indecent Proposal. You know that's true because Chrissy is nodding her head in approval, and that is rare. So, Chris, why did you pick this movie, and what about it do you like?
There are a lot of movies I talk about that I watched when I was younger, and I probably did not understand the movie as properly as I should have now that I'm an adult. This is definitely one of them. But even as a young child, I still can get the premise of the movie. I mean, it's very cut and dry. Billionaire comes, down in the luck couple.
No pun intended.
Wow. This is definitely not a kid's show.
No, I'm just because of the movie, you know.
Yeah, right. It's definitely not a kid's show. You should be ashamed of yourself. That's evil. But and then says, "Hey, I'm paying you such an amount of money." Dude says no at first. Woman says no at first. Woman says maybe. Dude says okay, let's go with it. Dude gets upset after it's done. Blah 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 blah. You can fill in the blank. However, the main reason I picked it is not so much because I believe the movie is good. We'll talk more about that in final thoughts. It's just the intrigue behind it and the fact that that situation could affect so many relationships even today in 2021. Remember, mind you, this movie was made over 20 years ago. Close to 30 years ago. So, but if you put that situation in any relationship today, it will be almost the same thing. Nothing will change as far as that.
I agree. Who else wants to jump in here? Vic is disgusted by the very idea, I guess.
Well,
He
no,
has-
I think
oh,
that in today's society, I think it would go over a little different, honestly.
Do tell.
in what way? Yeah.
Compared to no, because I just feel like people are way more selfish now. And mind you, I think that there's definitely would have been like I think the dynamic would have been different. I think that the couple probably would have just been with it, just been like, all right, here, give me this money, you know what I mean? Like, and if they continue with the situation, they probably would have been like, all right, let's see if we can milk them some more. Now the one part where I do see where I think it probably would be the same is the love that the two had for each other, because that was real. You know what I mean? That was real. They like grew up together and they had real love for each other. But that whole situation, like, yeah, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that the guy wouldn't have gotten jealous, but I definitely think that people by today's standards, especially when it comes to money, yeah, I think it would have gotten totally different if this was 2021. Like made now, yeah. I mean, you know, the story would have been told the same, but if this shit happened in real life, yeah, totally different.
Okay. Well,
Chrissy, what do you think?
okay, so this was my first time seeing this movie ever before. I've never seen it before. Went in there fresh. And about 60 seconds into the movie,
Mm-hmm.
there's, TNA everywhere. I said, okay, this is the kind of movie this is what they're displaying. It's very sensual, I'll say. It's basically like I feel like the idea of this movie came from a porno. I'm going to say it. It's like, okay, some millionaire comes, he wants to bang your wife. Do you let him bang your wife? It's kind of like one of those like plot points. It just seems like a little much, but I do feel like it was very realistic to a certain extent. Especially, I think my favorite scene was when the what's his name? The husband or what's his name? David,
Mm-hmm.
when he had the reaction that he did after they decided they were going to hook up with this billionaire man. So even after she met back up with him at the hotel, when they're at home and it's been eaten up at him like for some time, and he's like, hey, did you enjoy it? What was it like? What did you do? And that rung very true to me because you would want to know. You would want to know what happened. Did you like it? Because you don't want to know, but you do want to know. And I felt like his reaction was very realistic. The point where it became like a little too unbelievable for me was this, the billionaire, how he became so enthralled with her just from sleeping with her that one time. He was like, oh yeah, I gotta have you kind of thing. Because that didn't ring true to me, especially the end when, you think that, okay, well, he turns out to be this billionaire with a heart of gold and he lets her go because, he wants her to be with David. It just seems like a little bit too fairy tale ending that, wouldn't happen realistically.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I think of the movie. The plot is a little weird. The characters are pretty realistic up to a certain extent, up to a certain point. Then it's just like fairy tale land.
And let me say, I somewhat agree with you on that, C, because there was a lot of stuff that I think was a little bit contrived. But at the same time, I just still feel and see raw emotion from the characters there. The billionaire was attracted to her first because of her physical looks, which, I mean, she's an attractive young lady at the time. But also, he was attracted because she stood firm for what she believed in. And, when it comes to a man, when it comes to a woman, it's usually all about the chase. He wanted her because she refused to let him have her as a billionaire who's used to getting anything he wants at any time. And she's saying, well, no, money is not going to buy me. Money's not going to do this. Money's not going to do that. And even after they did end up sleeping together, she still refuted him. And that was a turn on for him because that's when he says, oh, I have to have you. I don't know about the billionaire with the heart of gold. No matter if, you know, at the end, and this is one of my favorite lines where he said, she would never look at me like she looked at him. That was very gracious of him to leave. But at the same time, you stole the people's land, you know, like they're Indians. You went on and you stole his wife because you did. I mean, she said no. She says, I love this man. This is the person I want to be with, because they got into a fight. You took advantage of that to, you know, wine and dine her and show her the better parts of life. You stole this person's wife. I'm surprised that David, showed as much restraint. I mean, he did get drunk one night and tried to take a swing at him, but realistically speaking, he was very, very polite when it comes to this billionaire the whole time. I mean, most men would have tried to beat his ass a long time ago.
Keyword men.
Right.
From the beginning, but I still don't feel like the billionaire guy, I don't feel like he had any real feelings for her. She
was a possession to be acquired. He says it in the movie.
And not only that, it was the person he had feelings for, has this obsession with, is the girl from the train that he never got to meet up with. So she's just a proxy for that woman. So it's like, I don't know. It's just a little weird.
A little weird, but it has you thinking. It's a psychological movie. That's one of the things I love most about it. Because, like I said, there's really no wrong answer. You can interpret how you want. However, like I said, I do believe that the feelings that each person had for the other person, whether it be the husband, whether it be the billionaire, whether it be the woman, was genuine.
Let me jump in here. There a lot has been said about this, and I think there's some overlap, justifiably so, because the movie does a good job in that. What am I talking about? I think the chemistry between the actors, right, is palpable, and I mean all three of the mains. Robert Redford, you have Demi Moore, and you have now I can't remember his name.
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson, who's fantastic. I love Woody Harrelson as an actor. He's actually going to be in my pick for May, so look out for that one. But I just didn't like their characters per se, but that's not a fault of them. That's just how the script is written. The only thing that I found annoying was, as far as the movie goes, was the narration. It was like it was a book at some points, and I didn't understand, like, was this based off of a book, or like what's going on with that narration? They could have left that out, in my personal opinion. I don't think it served the plot necessarily, except to have exposition when nothing's going on in the actual scene. I thought the movie was effective in itself, and there are a lot of quiet scenes in this movie when he goes back and he lives, I think, at his father's house or something like that, and he's, you know, he has his clothes strewn about, and then he puts them up, remembering, you know, how Diane would always say, who's Demi Moore's character, how she would always get on him to pick up his clothes, and that's a callback to another scene early in the movie, right? Robert Redford, I think he did a phenomenal job, and it's very subtle as a billionaire, right? And as a gambler, because he's very much a gambler in this. And I think this movie is heavy on quotes, and that's what I took away. And I have a lot of quotes from this movie. But as I said earlier, I wanted, one of the quotes he says is, I wanted you because you said I couldn't have you. If you are around people of means, wealthy people, rich people, new money, old money, that is how they operate. That's their mentality, right? I wanted it because you said I couldn't have it, because they've already done the business game, right? Or they've inherited, we've been doing this for generations hence. And here you don't have anything. I know you don't have don't have much, because you're stealing chocolate. He saw that and he scoped it out. Yes, as Chris says, he was physically attracted to her first, but then he saw what she was doing, right? He lined her up as a gambler would, as somebody who knows stats, as a businessman would. And he says, I can probably, so the first way he got to her, as he would any poor person, right? You want that dress? I can get nice things for you. But her love language, so to speak, wasn't possessions, right? So she could care less about it. And she says, I'm not a whore. So then he started to sweet talk her and make her feel special, right? Which is to say, to take her mind off of the money woes that they were in, right? I don't have a problem with that, because that's who his character is. I may disagree morally with that, but I don't think his character was wrong, because that's who his character was, and he played it great, right? I don't blame Thanos for killing people. That's who Thanos is, right? So I don't find fault in that. What I have a problem with, and I think it was Chrissy who brought this up, was that, and Chris did as well, Woody Harrelson's character, right? But again, that's how he was written. But it's a little inconsistent, and I'll say what I mean by that. Clearly, Demi Moore, Diane, wanted to do that. There's a scene when they're in bed, the dialogue that she says, they're both up thinking about it, right? But Woody can't even fathom that. But there is an attraction that Diane has, right? Now, that is not my thing to do that. But if you do that, you have to be completely open and honest from jump. And she does not say, hey, I'm attracted to this guy and there's something about it, right? We see that that is true because of the dialogue in that scene in the bed, and I'll get to that when I read through the quotes a little bit later. But also when she's on the boat, Robert Redford says, hey, I'm not going to well, I can't say that for Algor, I'm not going to take you by force. Nothing is going to happen that you don't want to happen, right? And we know that nothing like that did happen, because even after they were separated, she went right to Robert Redford. There's a great beat in the movie when he comes to her class teaching citizens about U.S. government, right, and U.S. history. And when they get in the car and he's showing her the different houses, the first house that they go to, she's very close to the window. And the next time we see them in the car, she's at ease and she's centered in the seat, and he's closer to her still. And by the time they get to the third house, when he tells a story, as Chrissy says, about the girl that he saw on the train, right, which we assume is true, she has fallen for him to whatever degree, and she does love him. You could argue that. And to the point at the end when Robert Redford does the quote unquote good or right thing by letting her go, he says to the driver why he did it. There would be no point. As he says, I'm a gambler, right? I know when to walk away from the table. She would never love me the way she loves him. She would never look at me the same way. So it would be pointless to be with him, right? But again, I don't think that he's a good guy or he did the good thing, because when you hear how he got rid of her, rather than him just say that, right? Hey, you're clearly in love with this guy. You're never going to love me the right way. He said, you're just a part of a bunch of different females that I've done this to, right? And he continues this ruse, and she catches on that clearly he's lying. But if he was such a good guy, movie-wise, he would have just said, you're never going to love me like you love your husband. Clearly you still love him. Go back to him. Right? He walked away like his character would. He's a gambler. He knows when to walk away from the table. He's a businessman. He knows when he's winning and he knows when he's losing. That's the reason why he says, you ran your mouth. You told me about the house. It was a good property. I could buy it. So I bought it. You lost. And if you notice, then he says, I want you to work for me. So he has more control over her. She was always a possession to him. But going back to Woody Harrelson's character, I would say that he made the mistake because, as I've said before, and this may be unpopular, I don't really care name of the show, but I'm speaking for myself. I don't put this on Chris. I believe that a man leads the relationship, right? It doesn't mean that he's a dictator, but he's the husband. And as was said earlier, and again, I take the onus for this statement, right? What man allows his wife to sleep with another man? There could be no amount of money. One, for you leave out the moral. If she is your wife, there are certain things and certain places you don't go. Right? So to allow even the thought, like if somebody said, hey, I offer you $1 billion, you know what I mean? For you to entertain that in your head, to let that seed germinate, that's a dangerous place. And it shows that you are not an alpha, you're a beta. Now, James Best, I'm saying this, right? But if you love your wife, there are certain things you wouldn't allow. And why do I say that? If it was your offspring and somebody said, hey, I'll pay you to take your kids, you would never allow that, right? Because they're your child. You love them. Why would it be different for your wife? If somebody came up and they were attacking you, your wife is not expected to protect you. You're expected to protect your wife. So regardless of whether or not she was attracted to Robert Redford, that's a conversation that they could have had and they would have never gotten separated, right? But I blame Woody Harrelson's character because he entertained it and he allowed his wife to go through with it. I don't care even if she wanted to do it. He allowed her to go through with that. And she was willing in the movie Willie's going crazy in the comments. I listen to him if you agree with that. But when he allowed her to go through with that, he couldn't live with himself. That's why he chased her up to the helicopter. That's why he wanted to know what happened. But he would have never had those issues had he not allowed that thought to go into his head and try and justify it over a house. And even to back that up, he never once tried to go out and get a job. They didn't have to pay $50,000 up front. If that was the case, they would have took the $25,000 and put half. He could have got that teaching job at any point. He never tried. They went for easy money, and that's what you get. So I would just say personally, I'm not a fan of that, and I don't have respect for that. I have more respect for Robert Redford's character because he was true to who he was. David was supposed to be a husband and the lover of that woman, and he failed in his job. So yeah, Diane is wrong, but he is the head of the house. And that's my opinion on it. So Willie is saying that he would, I'm not even going to go there. You can read Willie's comments. That's Willie's life. I don't get it. Maybe he's doing it for chuckles. But if we're saying in real life, as this movie brings up the question, that'd be a no-go. That'd be a no-go.
And you know what? That's completely fine, James. Everybody has, one thing I'll give Vic to his credit a little earlier before we go to commercials. He said that he thinks it'll be a little different in the 21st century. People are a lot more open. I'll reference OnlyFans and everything. People are a lot more open now than they ever have been. So more people might say yes and be proud of it. I can see people say, yeah, give me that money, pay me that 1 million, 10 million, whatever, and they'll hold the camera and they'll record it. I can see a lot of people doing that, but I also see a lot of people who are probably more proud who are saying no, and half of them probably will still do it and just not be make it public because they're too prideful. But they still
no. I wouldn't. Well, let me just say this: I would not do it privately. I hear what Vic is saying, and I'm not saying he's wrong. I don't even know if it's more people now versus then. In that now we have the internet and OnlyFans and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So they could have probably done it in the 90s too. This stuff like this was happening all the time. People were sleeping with each other's spouses all the time. What I'm just saying is from a principle stand.
For this kind of behavior.
What I'm just saying from a principle stand is certain things. This one obviously is so over the top. You know what I mean? But when you allow certain things into your relationship, not to sound Star Wars as we just came off of that, but you go down a path that you might not be able to recover from.
I completely agree.
That's my personal opinion.
And we'll transition into our final thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Unpopular Reviews Movie Edition. We're talking about Indecent Proposal. Find out we're reviewing next Tuesday as well as next Thursday. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
The boy is dangerous. They all sense it. Why can't you?
Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
There are angels. Some of these angels were cast down, and a few of the fallen were punished by being deprived of form.
Come on, get out of here. And each touch.
And at the execution, did he try and touch you?
Yeah, he did, actually. Passes the soul of a killer into someone new.
Well, I believe what I see, and I'm still trying to get my mind around what I just saw.
Some things, pal, you shouldn't know.
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. In case you didn't, if you're watching us live tomorrow, immediately in the morning, they're going to drop Mortal Kombat, and we are going to be doing a review show. When? I don't know. We'll get together and let you know. It'll probably be sometime over the next few days. We'll be talking about that. Also, next Tuesday, we'll continue our Star Wars campaign in the franchise as we do the Phantom Menace. We're beginning the prequels, and then next Thursday, Denzel Washington's Fallen, which is a pick by Mr. Chess Move down there. But tonight we are reviewing Indecent Proposal. Please make sure that you like, love, and share this, and follow us on our YouTube channel if you're not watching us on YouTube right now at UPRE, Strictly for Entertainment, which is Black Lightning, which is Falcon the Winter Soldier, and of course these movies. And then we're going to do Loki coming up. We got a lot of big things coming up with UPRE on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe to that. We're getting to final thoughts. Who volunteers to go first?
I'll
And
go.
Willie does. He says, if you lose her to somebody, then she was never yours. She's for the streets. Okay. That's wisdom. So so if somebody does drugs and they get hooked, does that mean that they were never yours by that logic or lack thereof? But I'm sorry, Chrissy, you wanted to go after Willie did and his sage wisdom.
So about the movie. So again, like I said, I've never seen it before. Over the weekend when I watched it, I was really unfamiliar with Woody Harrelson's acting. Like the only thing I've ever seen him in is The Hunger Games. But I was impressed with what he did. I think he portrayed what needed to be portrayed with the character. I can't think of many Demi Moore movies that I've seen, honestly. I think I've seen Ghosts. But other than that, I'm familiar with her work for the most part. She did a good job too. There wasn't an actor in this movie that I thought brought down the performance. Everyone did a really good job. With that being said, I feel like the movie was, I'll say softcore porn. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but that's how I felt when I was watching it. I understood why little baby Chris watched it as a child, because it was like, it was right in your face. Not so much with her and the billionaire, but with her and Woody Allen, they was going at it like rabbits. But was it a good movie? Yeah, I enjoyed it. That's my dog. Sorry about that. Oh, but yeah, she didn't like the movie.
First time I met your dog.
She didn't like the movie, but I thought it was okay. Thumbs up.
All right, Guap, take it away.
Okay, so this was an interesting movie. I had never seen it, even though I had planned to see it many times, because this is one of those things that you consistently saw on like HBO and Cinemax and things like that back in the day. Now, this came out during the time where Demi Moore was everywhere. G.I. Jane and Ghost and this, and she was just like the hot chick at that time. Clearly why they chose her to do this movie. Now, the story behind this is very interesting. I think that it can intrigue anybody at any time. So I think that the movie will age well and has aged well because of the subject matter. Now, with that being said, would some people do it? Some people would do it. Some people won't. However, it is an interesting concept. You know, if somebody offered you $1 million for that, would you take it? Would you not? Some people will automatically say no. Some people will think about it. It all depends on the seriousness of your relationship. Me personally, if somebody offered that for my fiance, I would say no right away. You know why? Because I would have the same reaction that Woody Harrelson had. I would probably be like, nah, I can't do this, even if I had all the money. But the reality behind it is one of the reasons why I do like this movie is because it shows you how money can be used to manipulate. Because he never did any, because mind you, the grandest gesture in this movie was the buying of the hippo.
Mm-hmm.
That's the guy that spent the most money. The guy that bought the hippo. You know what I mean? Right before he signed the divorce papers, which was very weird. But that was the guy who spent the most money. But at that point, he didn't care anymore. You know what I mean? So like money can buy everything but real feelings. You know, it can lead you to maybe some type of feelings, but you know, there's a lot of things that money can buy. And honestly, everybody looked like a beta. And I also think that was for the time, because, you know, for lack of a better phrase, that's a lot that like the mid 90s is when the beginning of the softification of the American male, I think, began. So so the fact that, you know, both of these men in this movie were beta male was very fitting for the time. And
you think Robert Redford was a beta?
Yeah. And the reason why I say that is because what you were alluding to earlier, the whole situation where he could just have been like, listen, all right, clearly you love this dude. You know what I mean? But he was just on some like, oh, you're just one of the many, blah, 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 this and that. Now, I kind of get that because he gave her an easy out. He gave her an image of himself that was negative so she could just run off with that and just be like, oh, okay, he's an asshole. But clearly he had feelings for her. But he could see that, you know, even with all of his money and all of his crap, he couldn't compete with what's real. And that part of it I did like about it. I wish he would have just been like, all right, listen, I can't compete with that. But it's either something in his ego or he's just too soft to just. But clearly you could see that she was getting it. She gave him a thank you and then walked off to go hold her ex-husband's hand, freshly ex-husband's hand. So yeah. But it's a thumbs up. You know, it was weird, but it's a thumbs up for me.
All right. Well, Chrissy stepped out to choke her dog or something like that. I don't know. I changed my name to 9.5 weeks because that too is a softcore porn movie. I'm sure Chrissy knows about it because she brought it up. Softcore porn. I don't know what she does in her free time. Maybe that's why she can't be on Tuesdays. But the point that I want to make is in this movie, I thought there was only one real alpha, and I'd have to disagree with Vic. You know, I think he acted like any businessman would, and he gave her out accurately, as Vic said. You know, the beta truly was Woody Harrelson's character. He took her back, and she didn't even bring any money. To Willie's point about being a pimp, she didn't bring no money home. So why did he bring her back? She put him through the ringer. She was giving it to the billionaire. When she separated him, she wasn't even divorced, and she slept with him on the boat. So he's the beta, the billionaire won, right? And I suppose that's why he's a billionaire. And they're homeless. What's going on here? Anyway, I would just say he should have got the teaching job early, and he should have been a man about it. And even if they had to struggle and eat oodles and noodles, at least they would have had their self-respect, right? And they would have never had to worry about that. And all Diane could say is, oh, I was attracted to this billionaire guy that I met at a casino once. That's it. Problem solved. All right. But this movie was a great character piece. As you know, I like character piece movies. I don't care about the special effects. I don't care about how much money it made because that's not a signal for quality to me. So I'm going to give this pick that Chris picked a thumbs up. Chris, unmute yourself.
Thank you. I do care about the money. Right? This movie cost $38 million to make. It made 266 worldwide. 106 of it came from the United States. Got a 6.0 out of 10 on IMDb.com. This movie was not critically acclaimed. However, it was still very popular. So popular, in fact, that 3 or 4 years ago, they were thinking about remaking this movie. They decided to dead the project, and I'm glad because it's not a movie that should be remade. It doesn't need to be remade. Why? Because I said the same effort that was made for that time, you can easily put it into this time. And I don't know if you can really have 3 people who will do just as good a job as Demi Moore, Woody Harrelson, and Robert Redford. I just don't think so. So I'm glad they didn't do it. This movie was very thought-provoking. Mm-hmm. It was very to the point. Now, there's a lot about this movie I did not like. You know, Willie and I have to say I kind of agree with Willie, right? I know it's a little strange, but what I mean by that is what really bothers me is the fact that whether it was the characters bothered me. Okay, I respected them, I understood them, but they bothered me. Why? Woody Harrelson, right? You agree, David, or whatever your name is, to let her sleep with him for the $1 million, right? Even though the lawyer who made me laugh by saying I could have got her.
Yeah, he was good. Christopher Platt was good.
Yeah, I could have got you too, but you agreed. After that. Now you're having your little jealous fits. Now you want to know or answer all these questions. Mm-hmm. You asked the question to her. You wanted her to tell you the truth. That's your fault, bro. Mm-hmm. You knew what you were getting into. One thing that I always say is, especially when you're dealing with people who are completely honest, right? That's what, because I go through this all the time. If you don't want to know the answer, do not ask the question. Mm-hmm. You asked her, was it good? Did you enjoy it? She told you the truth. Mind you, even after she told you the truth, I did not believe for 1 minute that she wanted to leave you. She seemed fine. She seemed content with that they got the $1 million, and that's who she wanted to be with was his character. But you had to throw this hissy fit. And even after you threw the hissy fit, which I somewhat understood, even though once again you opened the floodgates by asking the question. After you threw the hissy fit, you don't want to return her phone calls. You don't want to talk to her for weeks. How stupid are you? I had a problem with that. I have a problem with her because she manipulated the situation so she can sleep with the dude. Let's just be real. Even though she acted like she didn't want to, but she manipulated. She was in bed.
She was feeling it.
And she was like, hey, you think you want me to do that? Because I like being in bed naked with you throwing money at me. So I'm thinking, hey, that was $25,000. Now we're talking about $1 million. I like it. Let's go ahead and do it. You manipulated the situation. Granted, I think Woody Harrelson was at fault after that. Then you held your ground by saying, this is my husband, this is my husband, this is my husband. You know, he's ignoring my phone calls and he's not coming home, right? You try to detract yourself from this dude who was showing up your job and everything like that. And then you just end up saying, okay, you know what? Let's just go ahead and start seeing each other and dating or whatever like that. I thought that was stupid. And she should have been more faithful, even though I'm not going to sit here and deny that I don't understand where she was coming from. Because I don't understand how Woody Harrelson's character was such a punk. Made no sense. But thought-provoking this movie was. Character-driven this movie was, just like James said. And just the fact that, once again, this was in 1993 and 2021, this same question will cause just as much friction and tension. Might be different circumstances because of the different times we live in. That's true. But it's still something that will hold so much weight today. I loved it. This movie gets a thumbs up for me. 4 thumbs up for this movie. Thank you so much. Guap, take us home.
Hold on, Guap. I'm sorry. One quote that I just want to say that I thought was stellar in this movie that I mentioned earlier, when Robert Redford's character, he goes, "Something strange for a little change." I love that scene when he says that to Demi Moore's character. Something strange for a little change. But anyway, Guap, please take us home, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching another edition of Unpopular Reviews on this most sacred of Earth days. Thank you, God bless, and have a great night.
Good night, everybody. Oh, yeah.